Hello, and welcome to Out of Curiosity with Mz.ChiGurl. I'm your host, Mz.ChiGurl. Hi, guys. I'm trying to do, the recording a little more frequently. My intent was to get this content to you yesterday, but I am caring for my elderly mother. And so I had to take care of some business with her, which didn't allow me to get this content to you. So I'm here now. And so we're going to go over some things. So I decided that I was going to do a mesh video where I'm talking about the things for reality TV. We're going to be talking about pop culture, which I really haven't done that much. Oh, what's this on my lip? Ugh. I haven't done it that much. I will review movies and things like that. I tried to do some content, review of TV shows, but it didn't seem like, that was you guys' zhuzh. But I'm gonna try it anyway. I'm gonna try it this time, especially because part of my content is going to be ongoing over Candy's one woman show. But that's not towards the end of the show, so you gotta wait. So the first thing I'm going to go over Love is Marriage Huntsville. I'm going to be talking about the reunion, what's going on the show, as well as what's going on off the show. Then I'm going to talk about the Real Housewives of Atlanta. I know I'm in the middle of the season, but since I'm just starting back up, it is what it is. And then lastly, I'm gonna go over the Kandi one woman show to let you guys my thoughts, let you know my thoughts and how she did. And also give you the tea if you guys don't already know about what caused the split between she and Ty. Yeah, I got the details from Kandi herself at the show. So let's get started. So the first thing I'm gonna go over is Love and Marriage Huntsville. Are you guys watching Love and Marriage Huntsville? Did you see the reunion? What were your thoughts? Well, for me, the first package that they went over was Maurice and Kimmy, and so I think they kind of rushed through it. I think it deserved more conversation because the ish that Maurice was talking was some bullshiggity. It was. So I'm gonna play a little bit of the content, and under the Fair Use Act, I'm gonna review it, for entertainment purposes. So let's see if it will let me share it. Most likely, you're probably just gonna hear the audio. You're not gonna actually see the video, but let's see. I'm gonna play a little bit of it, and you tell me what you think. Okay, I have it queued up, but I don't want to start that far back. So we're gonna fast forward because Maurice is a trip, and I've never been married, but I'm sorry. Some of this stuff, especially at this age, I don't know if it's I don't know. We'll talk about it. Let me just play it for you. All right. So let's play.
Hmm.
So, Maurice,
Yes, sir.
your hands are soft.
Stop girl era.
What I'm not is a liar.
So let's talk about this soft hands era that you're in, okay? Do you not like using your hands to build?
I always liked creating. I never liked actually doing the building. I like the idea of creating, thinking something, and bringing it to fruition.
Have you worked on not needing sex 5 times a week?
We never did the whole 5 days a week.
And like he would be a lie to say it hasn't been 3-4 times a day. It's been that on occasion. However, you gotta have me in that space. You not like rough talking me and then like
Wanting it after
want
that?
to get some.
That don't work.
I'm not into just I want to get off too. Everybody want to
Right.
get off.
Not when like me.
I do want to ask you this because I'm sure you guys seen a lot of the comments on social media. A lot of people have considered you this season the most hated husband. You know, you have surpassed Martell Holt and
Wow.
and
Really?
and Marcel.
I know that's right.
People feel like you really are an ass, Kimmy. And a lot of people, Kimmy, feel like because you have this younger man as your husband, you are in a marriage where you have to give him sex because you don't want to be left alone.
Okay.
Is there a part of you that feels there could be a little bit of truth in that?
Okay, so that's the first part. So let me give people a little background for those who don't watch this show. So in this particular scene, Kimmy, which you see is the wife, she had cancer. And so when she had cancer, she told her husband that she knows he has needs. And so she would roll over and give him some. And he was like, "You're not getting, any satisfaction from that." And she was like, "No, I'm doing it for you because I love you." And so he made some kind of comments online where he was like, he appreciates his wife, you know, laying there and letting him have sex, even though she don't feel like it when she's having cancer. And then he went on further to talk about how that he felt that it wasn't a mental thing. No, he said it was a mental thing, not a physical thing, as to why she didn't want to have sex with him when she was going through treatment for cancer. And so it's like, really? It's a mental thing? Maybe it's part mental, but it's physical too. Her body is trying to heal itself. Body is being injected with poisons and stuff, the radiation and whatever else they give you when you're getting chemo treatments. And the fact that she was even nice enough to say, "Hey, you can get some," is good to me. Because if I feel like crap, we ain't doing nothing. I mean, I will say back in my younger days, I may have done that. But now that I'm older, it takes more to get me revved up than it used to. Like, used to, you just blow on me and I'm like, "Woo, I'm ready." You know, not like that anymore. I need some engagement. I need to know you're there with me, that we're both like in the moment, that we're feeling it. We're both pulling each other in to the passion that gets to the eventual enjoyment of the physical act. And so the fact that his wife wasn't able to get there because she was going through having cancer and the treatment and all the things that come with it, I think it was just completely horrible. And a lot of women did. And so he got a lot of backlash, which is why Carlos was saying that he was the most hated husband of this particular season. Yeah, he would definitely be. I don't know. Sometimes that Martell. Anyway, I'll get to that in a minute. But to get back to them, I never even thought about this, where he was saying that, she was trying to give him sex to keep up with him because he's younger. And so I'm like, I've been told they're 11 years apart. Um, I don't know. If you were an older woman who's married, now I've never been married, would you be trying to keep up and give your husband sex because he could probably get it somewhere else because there are young women out there who can keep up with him more than you can? Um, I don't know. It's something to think about. I want to know you guys' thoughts. Drop down in the comments and tell me what you think. If you had a younger husband and you were diagnosed with cancer, and you know that he likes the sex, would you submit to having sex as often as he wanted just to keep him because he's younger? I'd like to know what you guys think. Like I said, I've never been married. The only thing I can tell you is that now this was back when I was in college and I was dating this dude and we had sex often. And there became a time where we had sex so much that I eventually started to lose the enthusiasm for wanting to do it. And so I was telling him this, and he was like, well, I still want to do it. So let's do it. And so initially I was going along with it, but eventually I was like, why the F am I doing this? You know, I was like, I'm not getting nothing out of this. And then it became about his responses. He was like, well, you got me like this, and so we got to do it because you made me like this. And so I was like, look, I'm not a freaking mattress. You're not going to just keep pounding on me, and I'm not getting nothing from it. Long story short, I ended it with dude. Now, I eventually went back, but it was like a back and forth thing. But it was only when I wanted to. As a matter of fact, it was so funny that it got to the point where I would, he would call me and want to do something, and I'd be like, nah, I'm not feeling it. Then I call him the next day, and then I'm like, okay, I'm feeling it. And he was like, why you do that? And I was like, well, I wasn't feeling it at first, but then the thought of it and what you were gonna do got me excited, so now I want to. But he used to take him off. Anyway, so back to Love and Marriage Huntsville. We're not talking about me. What do you think about that? Then also the other thing I wanted to play you is something else that came up from the clip. So let me pull up the clip again and then I'll share my screen because I this is why I said I felt they didn't um go into it enough because I was like, oh heck, you know. Okay, so this is the next part I wanted to discuss with you guys. All right, here we go.
As us being married, I would like to say no. I mean, that's a tough.
Okay, at this point they were talking about deal breakers. And so Carlos asked them, or asked Kimmy specifically, if Maurice cheated on you, would that be a deal breaker? Would you get a divorce? So now she's answering it.
For me, I wouldn't be able to trust you. Like, I don't know how I could trust again after that. I just don't.
We're gonna be bringing this up in therapy.
Bring what up?
That last statement. This is new to me. This is breaking news.
What's news to you?
What's new?
What you just said.
What?
That you wouldn't at least try? I'm not worth a try? Like, if we got something... For real?
Maurice, we've had issues. You just looking at somebody wrong. So, don't do that.
Wow.
Don't do that.
Wow.
Maurice is by far the best man I ever met. He is. Does he have flaws? Yes. Absolutely. Do I? Yes. I do. But I'll never be in a situation where I'm mistreated. And where there's not the desire to want to do better. I love you, and I want my heart to think that there are a lot of people that make it through
I was the
infidelity.
best man that you've ever met.
Hence the reason I would be broken.
Wow.
Okay, so it bothers you that, God forbid, you cheated on Kimmy, right? And she finds out, okay? You feel some kind of way that she wouldn't try to make the marriage work despite your infidelity.
I'm deeper in this marriage than she is what it sounds like to me.
Okay, let's pause there. So once again, there's two things going on. First of all, is why is your response to your wife that we're gonna talk about this in therapy? That you wouldn't at least try to make it work if I had an affair. Why is that even a thought? That should not be a thought. It should be, babe, I would never cheat on you. I love you, da 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 da. Why is the thought, we're gonna talk about this in therapy? You say I'm the best man you ever met, but you wouldn't give me a second chance? Ooh, excuse me. Why do you need a second chance? And then I do understand what she's talking about as far as trusting, because I have those kind of trust issues too. So if I caught you cheating, I would be on you more. And so it would be a matter of, can you deal with or handle my now insecurities because you didn't cheated on me? So can we even move forward? Then the last thing he said, what this mofo just said, I lost my thought. What he just said. Like, one second, y'all. I gotta pause this and re-see, rewatch what he just said because it was some bullshit. Let's see what this. Oh, he said that I'm more invested, or I love her more than she loves me in this marriage. What? Because she don't want to put up with you cheating on her, or the thought of having insecurities about your marriage. She's not invested. So what you're saying is that if you love me, you will stay with me even if I make a mistake. Not make a mistake. Let me rephrase that, because I don't think it's a mistake. Putting your penis in somebody else's is a mistake. You will move forward, or you wouldn't want to try again if I soul tied, because that's what intercourse is. It's a soul tie. A piece of you is with a piece of somebody else, and you guys are bonded, whether supposed to be a one night fling or not. A piece of y'all is together. And so you done soul tied, and a part of you is now with this other person, and you want her to basically say, "Oh, I'm cool that you gave a piece of yourself to somebody else, and I'm gonna work this out." Now, mind you, they both have children. They both have sons. He has a son. She has a son. Her son is a grown-up adult who's graduated from college. His son is on his way to college. They don't have children together. So you don't have that intertwining of kids to worry about either. And you think she's supposed to stick around if you step out on the marriage. Boy, bye. Boy, bye, is my response. And so to me, I felt there was a little bit more to be talked about and worked through. But hey, this reunion, they could have talked about the different things, and it just didn't air, or it wasn't juicy enough for them to air it. Excuse me. I have my allergies are bothering me right now. I even hear it in my nasal passage. I'm a little stuffed up or whatever. Okay, so then the next thing they talked about in the reunion is about Tisha and Destiny not getting along all season, and how uh, Tisha basically feels hurt by Destiny taking Nell's side, or not giving her a heads up about some of the things that Nell has been saying about her, when she's not there, or she's not defending her enough to her other friend Nell. But yet, Tisha put her in a box that said, "Don't trust that hoe over there." You were trying to be cute, but that didn't work out for you. And I'm talking about Tisha, because you say don't trust that hoe over there. I got a problem. First of all, You supposed to be my friend and you calling me a hoe? Now, I want to touch on this a little bit because I've been guilty of this, especially in my younger days. Me and one of my friends, especially, we used to call each other a hoe, hooker, heifer, all that stuff, right? I'm now in my 50s. And that same friend, I had a conversation with her, it may have been last year. And I don't know, it bothered me that she would call me a hoe, heifer, or a hooker. And I was like, girl, I said, we in our 50s. Can we address each other a different way? I said, I don't like that. Please don't call me that no more. Call me, hey, friend, or something like that. I don't like the whole heifer, all that stuff. I know we did it when we were kids, or we weren't kids, we were young adults. I know we did it when we were young adults, but it ain't cute now. Look at my hair. My hair is gray. It's not white right now because I told you the beautician turned the gray into white. I mean, the white into gray. But yeah, I don't respond well to being called a hoe hooker or a heifer. Not anymore. If you call me them things, those fighting words now. I'm a heifer, you a heifer. I'm a hoe, you definitely a hoe. You might be a bitch and a big one at that. Excuse my language. Anyway, so the whole thing, this is what I also think is funny is that Tisha asked Carlos to bring Destiny back. And and Carlos said that Destiny was never fired. She chose to leave. And so Destiny did wind up coming back the following season. And I guess because they were friends, she thought that, the friend of my enemy is my friend. And at that time, she was beefing with Melody. And for those of you who don't know, that's Melody Cherie, or formerly Melody Holt, who was married to Martell Holt. And so they were like ganging up on Melody. But now Melody's gone. They're, doing the things. And she's like, to me, Tisha seems like she requires too much to be a friend. Um, she called her a hoe and said that she don't trust her. But yes, she wants her to, and when I say her, she wants Destiny to apologize for not defending her when she's interacting or talking to Neil. Why would I defend a woman who said they, one, don't trust me and called me a hoe? If anything, you owe me an apology. That's how that works. You got this twisted. And then let's say I did give you an apology. You constantly want an apology over and over again, and you're not letting this go. And so, why would I want to be friends with you if you don't feel like you can trust me and you don't let stuff go? I don't want that type of friend. If we start over and do things, we we got to start over fresh. We can't keep bringing up the same old ish every time. And Tisha keeps bringing up the same old ish every time, and she does not let it go. And it's funny, I forgot how the saying goes. I want to say my grandmother used to say this, where they would say something to the extent, it's funny how you could see the gleam in my eye, but you can't see yours, or something like that. I have to look up what that idiom is. But yeah, that that Tisha couldn't be my friend. And like I do see why Kimmy said that if they weren't in-laws, that she wouldn't be her friend. I've said that to my own mother. So I get it. Anyway, um, let's see, what else do I want to talk about it? Oh, then the last thing I want to talk about as far as Love and Marriage Huntsville was Destiny. Destiny has this thing where it bothers me that she gets really flipped. And believe me, I understand being flipped. One of my friends has nicknamed me as Sam, which stands for smart ass mouth. So, I understand having a smart ass mouth. But I think I have a smart ass mouth at the appropriate times. Destiny's times are not that favorable, and it comes off as aggressive. And I'm not trying to, get into the whole black woman's being aggressive. This is a black woman talking to other black women. Yeah, so the whole relationship thing between Tisha and Destiny, yeah, I couldn't do it. Not with Tisha as my friend. Now, to move on to the next topic, Melody Cherie, formerly Melody Holt, who's married to Martell Holt, who, for those of you who don't watch the show, may not know, she was married to Martell since college, and they have 4 children. During that time period, he decided to start having an affair with a woman who she was in her 20s at the time, so she's in her 30s now. And Melody and Martell are both in their 40s. He had a child with her outside of the marriage, which was the deal breaker, that is, for Melody, and which caused her to move on and to get a divorce from her husband. So, um, Melody started posting cryptic messages on Instagram, and everybody was worried about her. First of all, I don't like her cryptic messages because to me, it's like if you're not going to tell me what's going on, don't post some stuff. Like she was saying something about if she has to leave her children, um, when they turn 18 one day, they'll find her. And it was like she was like that she is so mentally exhausted and this, that, and the third. And she wasn't giving any details, but everybody could assume it was probably Martell that caused the drama. And so she's no longer on Love and Marriage Huntsville. So why take your issues to social media? I guess is my thing. You're no longer on reality TV. Why are you bringing this to the public? And so it kind of, to me, it seems like somebody who's seeking attention. That's just my opinion. Don't come at me. What do they call them? Millimeters. Millimeters. Don't come for me. This is my opinion. It was attention seeking to me because she's no longer on reality TV. So why is she talking about what's going on between her and Martell? Um, I don't know, if you want to talk about some stuff, do an interview with somebody. Why do you have to post scripted messages on social media? So this went on for days, and it's still going on. It's my understanding that she posted some messages today. I didn't even bother to read them. And actually, so I do follow her on social media, and that's because I was supporting her products. But her products, honestly, I mean, I will say, like, I wear her body oil, and oh, it makes my skin feel so great. The price point is too high for me. And I usually, for me, I'll buy stuff that is too expensive for me. Like, when it's on sale, her sale price is what I feel like should be the original price. And so it's still too high for me. And so that's why I was following her, because I was being a consumer to her products. I ain't come here for all the drama. But apparently yesterday she had a meeting of the minds with all of her favorite content creators. And the reason why I say it's her favorites, it's all the ones who praise her, and she can do no wrong, and Martell is the devil and all this other stuff. And the man is not the best. I am not going to say that he, was a good husband or father, because I don't know that man like that. I only know what was, you know, seen on TV. But, basically what has happened is all the stuff that she was talking about was that He apparently filed a domestic violence report against her, saying that she pulled or tugged his arm and that it caused 3 days worth of injury to him. Now, if you see him and her, I'm sorry. I don't believe that bullshit. I don't. And so I don't know why. Well, actually, I do know why because she explained what it was. So they're still going through their scuttle, not scuttle, but their mess in court. So child support, I think all of that has been actually settled. And what wound up happening was is that they were fighting over custody of the kids. They were going to do joint, but he would do stuff and it would cause issues, and so she felt she could no longer deal with that. I understand that. I went through that kind of stuff with my son's father. And so what she wound up doing was well, it wasn't her. The court actually met with the kids, and after talking to the kids, they decided to award her full custody and give him visitation rights. So now, because they can't co-parent the way they should be, they're doing like Drew and Well from Real Housewives of Atlanta, and they have to go through an app. So she was telling him, giving him a heads up, and that's why sometimes I don't believe in giving my enemy a heads up because they would use it against you. So she gave him a heads up that she was thinking about leaving Huntsville, and so he said, according to Melodies, and this is allegedly, he sent an email saying, "Thank you for giving me a heads up. Now I know what to do so that I could try and keep you in Alabama a little bit longer." Then another thing that happened, I guess, in their judgment as far as child support and all that stuff, he was supposed to pay for child support as well as pay for her legal fees. And Martell did neither. And so allegedly, he filed this DB incident and retaliation to what she did. And it really wasn't her, it was her lawyer. So her lawyer sent garnishment papers, I guess, to him or his employer or whomever. And that's what started all this stuff. So yesterday being June 8th, she had a town hall with her favorite content creators, the ones who are millimeters allegedly, and gave them the breakdown of what was going on. She also did something where that's why I'm like, why are you doing this? So is this a money grab kind of thing too? Because when she first published all this information on Instagram that was vague, she said she was going to put the details on her Patreon. For those of you who don't know what Patreon is, it is another way of doing content creation but behind a paywall. So it is, let's say, if you want to put it in a Gen X type of perspective, it's the equivalent of pay-per-view. Stuff that you can't watch on regular cable or TV. You go to Patreon and you pay a certain amount to get that information. Otherwise, you won't have access to it. And so that's what she did. But since then, I guess the Patreon didn't work. Nobody wanted to pay. So she had the content creators come to her town hall. And one of them I happen to follow. Her name is Millie Chan. And so this is what she had to say. Again, I'm going to play this under fair use, and it's for entertainment purposes only for me to review and to discuss my perspective on what was said. So I'm taking you to Instagram. I think Instagram you'll be able to actually hear and see. So let me know though if there are problems. But here's Millie Chan discussing the town hall she had yesterday with Melody and other content creators. Let me do it again.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Millie Chun, and Melody Cherie just hosted her first ever content creator Zoom for updates and clearing everything up. Baby, when you say lemons into lemonade, this is an understatement. So she took us to March, right? Took us back to March. So Mel said there was something going on at the school. The kids wanted to get picked up early, but one of them wanted to go and stay with Martell. That's why he was at the school as well, right? So she said while they were there, she said they were having a conversation. He was in his car, she was in her car. And she let him know that she was moving to Georgia. So that little wheel in his head started to turn. And so he's like, what are you doing? We can get a place. You don't have to do this. She said, well, I'm willing to give you more time, more vacation time, more summers, whatever you like. It's only a 3-hour drive and it's a 30-minute flight. But we all know that Mel wants to move. We've known that for a while. So while they're in this conversation, Mel also lets Martell know that her lawyer has been pressing her, Mel, to file child support on Martell. Now, Martell cannot file child support if he became the primary caregiver because it's already in an order that he cannot get it. So she lets Martell know it's up towards $7,000. So he's like, oh, wait a minute, hold on, we can talk about this, okay? Let's sit down, let's talk about it, and let's put it through the courts because they're communicating through an app. He's sending receipts for $50 and things like that, right? So he said he wants to take it to the court, so okay. Then, child, they over here at this tennis match, right? Mel walks in, he trying to give Mel a hug and let's talk, let's do this, let's get back together, blah, blah, blah. Then she said his phone starts to ring. And he didn't answer. She was like, you need to answer your phone. He pulls the phone out and shows it to Mel, snickling and giggling. You know that stupid thing that he does? And Big Ari's on the phone. Mel's like, I don't care. He's not even answering your phone calls, girl. So on the 24th, Mel was getting ready to go to a retreat. And I guess, she's having this conversation with her kids before she goes. And so she finds out that one of her kids took a picture of Martell on the day that he claims Mel pulled his arms from his shoulder, right? And nothing was wrong with his arm. He was smiling in the photo. And so, of course, she keeps that. Then she finds out from YouTube that there's a garnishment from her. And she calls her attorney, and her attorney said that she had to do that. So the attorney was the one who filed the garnishment because the statute of limitations were about to be up. So in turn, with the attorney filing the garnishment, Martell goes and filed for Mel's arrest for DV. And she explained that because they were married, that's why it's considered to be DV. So Mel tried to stop it, right? She talked to the attorney. She was like, I want to pull this back. I don't want you to file this, da-da-da-da-da. And the lawyer let her know that it's something that cannot be stopped because Mel did not want that blowback because she knew that this would send him into a spiral. And that's exactly what he did. And here we are right now. So on May 29th, down this street probably, Martell and the police down here, the way Mel found out that there were police at the bottom of her hill was that Jason was at the gym. Some police were there. They communicated it with him. He called Mel. It was about 7 o'clock in the morning. She said that. She got the kids and their friends and put them in her room. So in all of that working, Martell had avoided a service, right? There was something he was supposed to do. He had not fulfilled what he needed to do. And while they're sitting at the bottom of her hill, along with Martell, because he's not supposed to be there, they find out that Martell is not supposed to be there, and they arrest him instead because he was avoiding service. So he didn't even do what he needed to do. He was just focused and obsessed with Mel, wanting to make her look bad in front of their children, and he was the one that got arrested. So when Mel made this post, people were like, oh my God, what is she talking about? Where is she going? Blah, blah, blah. Well, she said that Martell she had all these emails, all this correspondence, right? And she had to read it. And if she didn't do certain things, because Mel says she does not want to co-parent Martell. She does not want to do it. And if she didn't do certain things, she could be held in contempt of court. So at that point, she was like, just let him have the kids. Just let him have them. Because if he gets the kids, he cannot get child support. But then why would you bother Mel anymore? Because Mel's getting the kids' hair done. She's paying for the kids to get their hair done. He's not paying anything on that. But if the baby's twist is going to the left and not the right, he's sending pictures in the app talking about something needs to be done. Do it. You're not putting in on it. If you see something needs to be done, then do it. So she's like, just let him have them. So if he has them, then he'll leave me alone because he can do everything because he's such a girl as a dad that he's locked in. You understand what I'm saying? I understand where she's coming from. Mel told us in October of 2025, that's the year and the court date where Martell missed because he was doing the reunion. And Mel had to take the stand. At the time, Martell had primary custody. So when Mel took the stand, whatever they were talking about, it came up to get the kids there. So the judge gave a recess. Jason and her mother went and picked the kids up. The kids got to the courthouse. They went into the judge's chambers. I think the therapist was in there with them. And the kids told everything, their experience, what they witnessed, and all the things. When they came out of the chambers, Mel had primary and physical custody of her children. Because of their testimony and what they've gone through with their father, Mel was given primary custody. Absolutely. So Mel's on her trip. Martell will not allow the kids to bring their phones into the house. So one of the kids had an iPad in the house and they snuck and called her on FaceTime. And they talked about things that were going on in the house, things that Martell was doing. So Mel had her kids picked up and they have been with her ever since. Now, Mel goes to court on Friday. But she said this week, today is Monday. So Wednesday, all of this, the arrest, Martell being arrested, trying to get Mel arrested, should be cleared up by Wednesday. But she said if it's not cleared up this Wednesday, this Thursday, she's going to turn herself in. And she said it's going to be the biggest turn-in you've ever seen. Now, if they clear it up Wednesday, then they just go to court on Friday. So we'll see how that goes this week. So someone asked a question about her turning herself in, right? And the whole.
Okay, I'm gonna stop it right there because it was getting kind of long. But so first of all, that's crazy. There were a few things that were crazy about that. It's crazy that he was there with the police to, so the police were there to serve Melody with a warrant or to arrest her because she had a warrant out for her arrest. And that was the first thing that came out when she started posting all this crazy stuff. And what's funny is that he shows up with the police and then gets arrested himself because he don't have his stuff together. This just shows you how dumb men are, because some men will do some dumb ish like this. Like I'm gonna I'm gonna go get my babies. And so, because their mommy's getting arrested and something that I orchestrated. But oh shoot, I got a warrant out for me too. It was just man, what was the next thing they said he did? Forgive me, between ADHD and being over 50, it's hard for me to keep up with everything. I got so much going on in my head. The other thing that happened was I want to say the courts the kids giving their testimony and then him losing custody. And I understand that. I've never gone through that lost custody because my situation with my son was different. But I understand having to go to court and you don't want to deal with the man anymore. It was funny because it was like um my son's father he stopped paying child support when he turned 18, but my son was going to college. And so my son was like, he didn't want me to go through court, and him having to testify and everything, and he's going to college so that, he could get, costs. And so I actually talked to, or money rather, towards tuition. And so I actually talked to him about it. And I feel very even tone. And, not causing, any issues because I know how his dad is. And I was like, would you be able to, assist with paying with your son's tuition? And he was like, why would you have told me sooner? Because I've allocated that money to something else. And I said, well, it's March. Child support don't stop for another 5, 6 months. That's why I'm calling you. Yeah, and I've already made plans for that money. And so that ticked me off so bad that he wouldn't contribute towards our son's tuition that I was like, you know what? Our time is done. Our son will be 18, such and such date. After that, you and I never have to talk again. And I said, he has his own phone number. You can reach him directly. Don't call me. I don't ever want to speak to you again. And pretty much I did keep that until recently because now we're getting older. And so, emergencies come up. One time my son went to the hospital, so I called his dad. Then another time was um, we went to college together. And so we had a mutual acquaintance passed away, and I knew that he was close to that person. And so I reached out to give him my sympathies because I did know that they were close. But and then the other thing, well, I'm not going to even get into that. But for emergency type situations, I do contact him. Otherwise, I don't talk to the man. Nothing to talk to him. He still is on their BS, which is, I'm sure, what Melody is dealing with. And she still has to communicate with this man, and it's driving her crazy. But it was like, if I didn't make the phone call, my son's father didn't initiate. He really didn't initiate a relationship with my son after college either. What's funny is my mom kind of went through this with my dad too. And so this is a generational thing. But anyway, and so my dad, once I turned 18, that's when he did initiate a relationship with me. And he reached out to me and talked to me more when I was in college than he ever had when I was a child. And so we developed a relationship with me being 18 and older. So just so you know, sometimes, and I don't think the daddies understand that. You want to do that? Reach out to your kids, make an effort. My dad made an effort, and he reached out to me while I was in college, and that's when we had more things in common because he went to college, whereas my mother graduated from college, but she did as an adult. My dad actually went away to college, and so he had that away experience, and so he was giving me his perspective as a male, and I was a female going away to college, and we're talking about things and everything. And so sometimes that does work, waiting until your child is 18. But you can't just give up, is my point. And I think that's the problem, is there's not enough follow up with the daddies. But you know what? I'm going on too much. But I just wanted to tie that in with my love and marriage Huntsville um review and keep you guys up to date on what's going on the TV as well as in social media as it relates to love and marriage. Huntsville, although Melody is not on the show anymore, she apparently still wants you guys to know what she's dealing with and what's going on with her life. So I brought it to you. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about is Real Housewives of Atlanta. And so honestly, this was a filler episode for me. So what I'm not gonna cover everything as far as the whole episode. I'm just gonna hit key points and everything. And so the key points from this episode were the argument with Shamia and Angela. What the hell? Shamia came to that lunch on some bullish. She really did. Because the fact that she goes to the hostess and the hostess says, do you have a reservation? And she's like, yeah, I have a reservation. It's with somebody who's really tall and has big feet. She looks like a Sasquatch. Really? you're not trying to mend anything. You don't even have the heart. Like if you're going to fix a situation, you gotta have that heart, your mindset in the right place. And she didn't even have it in the right place to get it fixed. And so they're going back and forth was it was just dumb and there was nothing, to move forward from it or grow from it. So then they have a meetup at Cynthia's house at Lake Bailey and we meet her boyfriend. Her boyfriend is interesting. I've never seen a black Dutch person. And so it was nice that, he's able to speak some English or whatever. He I don't know, they don't seem like they match up as far as appearances, as far as a couple. I wouldn't say that they were a couple. But he's very proud to say that he loves her. And you know what? That's what I think probably was holding that relationship together is that the fact that she's with a non-American, sometimes other cultures bringing them together with certain people can make the relationship work, if you know what I mean. Because if that was a young dude from America, the United States, I don't think it would work out. He would have to be a hit it, quit it type of thing. But having a relationship with him is possible as long as he doesn't want kids. Because if he wants kids, then you're gonna have a problem because she, of course, is I want to say they said that Cynthia's 59 right now. So yeah, unless they're planning on adopting, which most dudes they want to have their own kid, they're not gonna last that long. It's gonna turn into a Ashton Kutcher Denise situation to me more. That is. Then I thought it was interesting when they were doing a recap of everything that happened at the lunch with Angela and Shamia, and Angela telling her side and so forth. It was nice, I think, that Portia decided to get up and not sit there and listen to it because anything she made any kind of facial gesture or remark that it could be misconstrued. And so she was trying to avoid the bull. That is somebody who knows how to be a good friend and avoid bull when you guys are on that outs. And so I appreciated her doing that. Then the whole thing with Kay Michelle and talking to her son on the phone and then taking Phaedra fishing. First of all, her talking to her son on the phone, I remember there was a time, and maybe it was because he was a minor, and so now he's an adult. But I remember she didn't even want to talk about her son, like when she was on Love and Marriage Hunts, not Love and Marriage Hunts, but when she was on Love and Hip Hop. And so, no, I just don't like Kay Michelle on this show. It's like she likes to give all the stuff I would expect on the show on social media. We're not watching social media. We're watching you on the show. Why do you keep like I'm gonna skip to the end. Why do you keep leaving and then doing I mean it's just some dumb petty stuff. And you're always blaming Drew for something. Like the whole thing that happened when she was talking about the scheme and the plot and all that nonsense, that was some bull because the situation she's talking about, and so I don't know if you guys are aware that apparently, she dated Mano, who is a rapper. He used to be on Love and Hip Hop New York, maybe a season or two. This was a long time ago. And apparently, they may have crossed paths, and he made a comment about the smell of her cookie, and she was going to sue him for defamation and all this other stuff. And long story short, she brought this to the show talking about how when they were talking about those oysters that they were going to be talking about or referencing her cat. And I'm like, I never heard this. This rumor was so old. It was before I was on social media. And usually I'm all into the stuff. So this was an old rumor. She brought up a rumor that most of the audience of Real Housewives of Atlanta were not familiar with. So she She basically outed herself as having a smelly cat. And if he did say she had a smelly cat, she should have just threw it on him because our pH levels get messed up because of the men. Either they're not washing correctly or they're sleeping with multiple women. So her constantly like being offended by it, she she must not knows how it works. Is all I can say. Because I was sure like if I do have a smelly cat, it's your fault. You must be cheating on me and sleeping with somebody.
Sorry, had technical issues. My camera went out on me. The life of trying to be a content creator. Anyway, so back to what I was saying. So, yeah, K Michelle putting that information out just outed herself, and she needs to know how to defend herself real time. She recently released something about Drew. Oh, that I thought was funny, although it was rude. For those who are following the divorce between Drew and Ralph, apparently he won custody of the home, and so Drew and her older son, who is not Ralph's child, because he didn't adopt him like he said he was, but that's a whole nother story. But they had to be out of the house and vacate by the end of May. Well, last minute, I want to say, so yeah, last week was June 1st. So the week before last, so 2 weeks ago, the judge changed his decision and said that Drew and her son did not have to move out of the home. And before that, Kay posted a video talking about she's homeless. She's homeless, referencing or singing the song by Crystal Waters. La da dee, la da da, la da dee, la da da. You should have said that at the time you were at the table with Drew. When Drew was saying, "Oh, you don't fit in." So now she's saying that's why she has a problem with Drew. So first it was because Drew was trying to say that she has a connection with the guy that she's seeing, which is black. And then K Michelle actually is the one who told everybody again that she had the connection with black. Now she's talking about it was the whole thing with the smell, and now it's the whole thing with she said she didn't fit in. Girl, pick a struggle. But I also think it's funny that Mimi Faust, I forgot that K Michelle and Mimi Faust actually fell out. And I thought her thing was just with Rashida, her beef. But no, Mimi was like that this is typical K, that she tries to bully you and then play victim. And that's what I'm seeing too. Just my opinion. All right, the last thing I wanted to go over with you was I went to the Kandi. I did. I'm done. One woman show on Saturday, and I had a good time. I actually ran into a work colleague there, so it was interesting. So the show with Kandi, like I said, I didn't know what to expect. I figured it was going to be a little bit of singing because she is a singer, duh. So basically, what she did was she did a little bit of going back, and playing some of her escape songs. She did a sex dungeons segment. I can't remember what it was called. Oh, Speak on It. She did a Speak on It where she talks about what happened between she and Todd, and then she ended it. What I didn't appreciate, and I never had this happen before at City Winery, is that she was roughly 45 minutes late. So I'm just gonna let you know. I was sitting there, and it was funny. I was there with, I guess, a lot of other women who were in my age group, and one of the women was going to sleep. When we expected you to come at a certain time, we used to a certain bedtime, and so we can't be dealing with you being 45 minutes late to the show. One thing I didn't know is Kandi turned 50 this year. And so that was one of the things she talked about, that, she did not, expect this divorce. It came out of nowhere. It did not come as a result of, them experimenting with other people, that this was all Todd, and that, he did this thing with wherever he met this woman from. But it was funny how she was telling telling the story. I also wanted to show you a clip. So she posted a clip on social media from Chicago. And so I'm going to show you some of the clip, and then I'm going to talk about what she actually went over. So let me share my screen again, and then I'll be able to show you just a few of the things that happened while I was there for the show. Here we go.
Kandi, I came from Canada. Detroit in the building.
Used to love me good daddy. You used to love me good daddy. Don't like how you coming at me. Like I am making you happy. You used to love me good daddy. You used to love me good daddy. You used to love me good. Love me good. Love me good. Love me good.
I did, I'm done.
Oh no, it ain't nobody else.
All right, so that's the video of when I went to the show, and I just want to show you real quick how I did take a few pictures while I was there. So this is me at the freaking City Winery restaurant. I was gonna take pictures of my food because they said we couldn't take our cameras into the event, and the problem was that was the other thing. I was waiting so long on my food. So the show started at 7:30. I got there, at 6:15 because I knew I wanted to have dinner in the restaurant, as opposed to having it during the performance, which is one of the options. And they took so long with taking my order, getting my food to me, that I didn't have time to actually take pictures of it. I told them to box it up and I would take it into the venue with me. So this is me sitting waiting for my food. And then here's a picture of me standing in line, and you can't see it. I don't know why, what's it called? The Instagram kind of zooms in on my pictures. I was trying to show you the line of people. And then you can see I took a picture with Don Juan. I actually got to meet him at the event while I was going to see Kandi. So these are the only pictures I have from the whatchamacallit. But yeah, anyway. So now back to my story. So I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. So basically what happened was when Kandi came out, she came out in this wedding dress when she first came out. And so it was so nice. I love the wedding dress. And then she had, I'm going to call them a them, because I was going to say something else. And I talked to two people who told me that wasn't appropriate and that I'd probably get canceled. But I was like, I don't know what to call them. And so they said, just call them them. So them came out. Actually, she was playing that song that was in that video that you just saw, You Used to Love Me, Big Daddy. And then they were voguing and doing all the little things that they do, at the balls and stuff. And, her outfit or her dress was, detachable. And so he was taking stuff off and stripping her down to those lace pants that you saw. So then that was the first part of the show where, like I said, she was going over the music. So then the next thing she did was the dungeon. So I don't know if you saw in the clip because it was going fast. I'm going to, by the way, put the link for the clip for Millie Chun and what she had to say about Melody and Melody Cherie and Martell Holt in their situation. And I'm going to put the video for Kandi in the description of this video so that you can refer to it, and also so that they can get credit for providing me this content that I reviewed and used for entertainment purposes only, so that I can give commentary. But she pulled two couples up. One was a straight couple that was Black, and the other one was a homosexual couple that was Caucasian. And so the Black couple, the guy was really into it. And what I also like is that she asked their permission to, one, touch them, and two, can she, do things with them during the thing? And they were like, yes. And the same thing with the homosexual couple. And so it was funny. The Black couple, like I said, they were in it. They had Kandi all in it and everything. And then when she went to the gay couple or the homosexual couple, the guy who was doing the dancing the lap dance for his partner, he seemed like he wanted to be the show instead of Kandi. He wouldn't even let Kandi in. Like, there was a point where she was trying to sit on the lap, and the guy took over the lap from Kandi and was like pushing her away. And I'm like, you do understand this is supposed to be a threesome situation. And like I said, he was not letting her in. So, she interacted mostly with the Black couple. She has said that she was at the City Winery in St. Louis the night before. And she said they turned up, and then she said Chicago was a little more turned up than St. Louis. So I don't know if that's true, but that's what she said. Then the next thing she did was speak on it. So speak on it is where she actually did talk about what happened with Todd. And I thought this was such an interesting story. So she was talking about how she and Todd always go places together. So this one particular time, he said that he didn't want to go. He was going to stay home, whatever. So then she got invited to some kind of event, and she said she wasn't going to use the tickets. So then he comes to her and say, hey, those tickets you said you weren't going to use? Do you mind if I use them? And she was like, who you going there with? And he was like, oh, I'm going to go with one of my boys. And, da, da, da. And she was like, well, it's 4 tickets. And he was like, well, I don't know. I'll figure it out. Somebody's going to go with me, right? So then she goes out of town for whatever she has to do. But she says whenever she goes out of town, she takes the first flight out the next day. And that's what she did. So she said that while she was out of town, he called her from the event and FaceTimed her, showing her all the things, about how he's there and he's this and that. And she said, should have known that was an issue anyway, because she was like, why was he calling her? Like, yeah, I'm here. I'm at the event. I'm doing this. So then she says she tried to call him that morning to tell him that she was on. So she called him at 5 a.m. to tell him that she was going to, be on the next flight, and that she was going to be back in Atlanta at like 8:30 a.m. This mofo don't answer the phone. She says she's calling him. She called him like before she went to the airport. She called him when she got to the airport. She called him when she was about to get on the flight, and he was not answering. So then she said she had Wi-Fi on the airplane. And so she decided, she said that they have an app called Find My Friend. Now this shows you, I don't know nothing about this because I'm not in a relationship and I ain't looking for nobody. But apparently if you do Find My Friend, you know where your friend is. And so he claimed that he was with his buddies or whatever. So she assumed that he probably was at one of his buddies' house or whatever, or at her house, and was just sleeping it off. And when she did Find My Friend, she saw an address and she was like, where is this? I don't know this address. So she says while she's on the plane, she looked up the address and it came up with a female's name who she don't know. So she, does her little investigation and everything. And then she gets home. And by that time, it says he's on his way home. I mean, she gets off the plane. By that time, it says he's on his way home. So she walked through the door and she's going off, where were you? This and that, but that, And so they going at it. And she says he was lying. And so she said that it really bothers her. It makes things worse. It makes her madder when he should know that he's caught because she's saying some things and he's still lying. I've been in a situation like that. I got a good story about that, but anyway. And so he kept lying, and she said she was like they had to be somewhere that morning, and so he was like, well, we're gonna have to talk about this later because we got to be at such and such. So they get ready or whatever, and she says she's driving, but they're stuck in traffic. So she's steady like questioning him and asking him different stuff about whatever. Now she already knows the answer to it, but she's asking him because you're trying to catch him or whatever. And so she just got fed up with it. She took the address that she looked up, put it in her Waze, and she saw that she was like at the exit where she would need to get off to go to the house that he was at. So she took it. And so he wasn't paying attention, I guess. And so she said he didn't realize until they pulled up on the block that she was taking him to the house where he was that morning. So then she's arguing with him in the car and was like, I'm going to ring the doorbell, tell whomever to come out. So she said he started texting, and he's texting, my wife is at the door. And she said, give me the phone. So she deleted that. And she said whatever and asked the person to come out. But the person had a ring. And so they saw her at the door and went to answer it. And so eventually she left or whatever. And she said that's basically how she called and found out that, he was cheating on her. And she said she was so hurt because I don't think it was him, but somebody else posted pictures of him being at the event with the woman that he was cheating on her with. And so he took the tickets that basically, were meant for her and took her to whatever event to show off. And she said that was just really upset. And then you know how Kandi gets, and I used to be this person too, where when you're mad and you try not to cry, your voice starts shaking because you can't hold it in no more. And so that's what Kandi did. So I like the show. I don't think I would want to see everybody's show, but she kept me pretty much entertained. I had a good time, especially she had, I guess this guy was on her Candy Coated Nights with her. His name is DJ A1. And so he was kind of funny. He, kept the crowd engaged and so on and so forth. So it was really a good show. I think I've told you everything. Yeah, I think that was it. And so thank you for hanging in there with me. I got through my stories. I hope you enjoy them. And I hope you'll join me again. I still haven't decided to do my weekend watch. My weekend watch, because honestly, I've been looking at all the streaming shows. I don't even see any stuff that I would even recommend. I mean, I could do recommendations and I could tell you about around town because honestly, in Chicago, there's a lot going on. So I could talk about that. But as far as what to watch on TV, I may give you some movie recommendations or I can give you some music recommendations. But Actually, what's streaming? There's really not anything. I think a lot of stuff isn't coming out until after Juneteenth or maybe July. You might have some interesting shows or TV shows or movies or whatever out there. Right now, I see what's trending on Netflix is the Michael Jackson documentary about when he went to trial for SA against those young kids, in LA County. So I plan to watch that myself. Oh, also, I saw, and I guess I could tell you in my weekend watching, but I'm going to just tell you real quick that they have a documentary about Earth, Wind, and Fire that I'm interested in, and I plan to watch that. So I may do a weekend watching this weekend. I may not. We'll see what happens. Otherwise, I'll see you in my next video. Thank you for joining me. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, I'd like to hear your thoughts about the Kandi Todd situation. I'd like to hear your thoughts about the Tisha and Destiny situation. Would you still stay with a friend who says that they don't trust you and they call you a hoe? And then I'd love to hear about the Kimmy and Maurice situation. If you tell your husband that cheating is a deal breaker and he gets mad because you said he was a good man, would you have second thoughts about being in that marriage? I'd like to know. So definitely, let's talk in the comment section. Thank you again. Oh, I forgot this last thing. So I don't know if I told you guys or not. You know about my my step sibs. But I'm an only child, but my dad had other kids. And so I have an older brother and a younger sister that I deal with. Those are my family. And so today is my younger sister's birthday. Happy birthday, sis. I'll talk to you later. All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining me, and have a good day.